First Minister, how concerned are you at the prospect of winter blackouts?
I think everybody should be concerned, but not in a panic. The National Grid yesterday set out different scenarios. It's important to say that their central scenario is that supply will meet demand over this winter, but they've set out other scenarios should imports and gas supplies be cut off more than is currently anticipated. I think we've got to plan for that. I think we've got to be honest with the public.
Do you have to plan for that in the Scottish Government as well?
Well, we have to be honest with the public and suggest to the public sensible energy efficiency, which people would want to do for cost reasons and for environmental reasons right now. We're part of a GB-wide grid, so the principal responsibility, energy is reserved, lies with the UK government. There is a real irony for Scotland right now, and it's particularly galling for Scotland. We're a net exporter of electricity, including to the rest of the UK. We already generate sufficient renewables to cater for almost 100% of our electricity needs. We've got vast renewable potential. So there's something wrong with the system that, given all that, has Scotland facing sky-high gas prices and the prospect of energy shortages. And I think that does underline, over many years now, a lack of proper planning around all of this from the UK government.
So given that, presumably you welcome the new round of oil and gas exploration licences from the UK government?
There should be no go-ahead for new exploration that is not subjected to a very robust climate compatibility check. We've got a UK government right now.
So you're against the UK government round today?
Well, I don't think they've demonstrated the climate compatibility work that has been done.
And because of that, you're against it?
I don't think anybody should be giving the go. But there's a more fundamental issue. Their energy pronouncements right now are haphazard and more about the ideological positioning of people like Jacob Rees-Mogg than about energy security.
But fundamentally, you're saying you're opposed to it today?
I haven't seen the evidence that would back that up. But fundamentally, the route to lower cost energy and to energy security, as well as the route to protecting the environment, lies in renewable and low carbon sources of energy. Scotland is in the lucky position of having abundant resources in these, and that's why we've got to focus on that.
Your members are coming to the first in-person conference for 3 years this weekend. They'll be quite excited about the prospect of another independence referendum a year from now, but that's dependent on the Supreme Court, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, I mean, that's what I've already said. What is dependent on the Supreme Court is whether or not the Scottish Parliament can legislate for that.
And if you win in the Supreme Court, you will have that referendum next year?
Yes.
And if you don't win, you can't have that referendum. Is that the case?
Look, I don't want to speculate too much on the Supreme Court.
Well, you just speculated on winning, but if you don't win, you can't have the referendum, can you?
I think you're kind of answering your own questions here. The logic would take you there, but this is a Supreme Court reference about the ability of the Scottish Parliament to legislate. If the Supreme Court says that the Scottish Parliament doesn't have that competence, I hope that's not the outcome. That does not stop the Westminster Government doing what it should always have done, which is respect Scottish democracy and agree with the Scottish Government the terms of a referendum.
Yesterday we heard in First Minister's questions about long ambulance waits, accident emergency waits, other waiting times in the NHS as well. What do you say to the patients and their families who are having to wait that long?
I am deeply sorry to anybody whose experience on the NHS is not what it should be. The vast majority of people, let's not forget, get an outstanding service from the National Health Service, even in these really difficult times. The NHS in Scotland and all parts of the UK and health services in much of the world are under severe pressure right now. The job of me and my government is to support the NHS with record investment, record recruitment of staff, the changes we need to make to the way care is delivered. And we won't do things like give tax cuts to the richest at the expense of the funding of the NHS and our other public services.
And do you have confidence in your Health Secretary?
Yes, I do.
Do you think he's doing a good job despite the waiting problems that we've just been talking about?
I think the Health Secretary is doing a good job. He's focused on supporting the NHS. The NHS is under severe pressure, and anybody who suggests that is somehow because of the Health Secretary. In Scotland, we're under severe pressure like other health services are, but accident and emergency being one example. The NHS in Scotland is actually performing better than in other parts of the UK, which doesn't say there's not a problem. It says that what we are doing to support the NHS is the right things, and we need to continue to do that and to do more of that to get the NHS through what will be a difficult winter.
But you think patients who are having to wait more than 4 hours in A&E have confidence in your health
Look,
secretary?
It's not. I think you have to ask other people that rather than ask me to make judgments about people's views on these things. My government is elected, therefore we have the confidence of people to steer the country through these difficulties. The public should have confidence in the National Health Service. It delivers, the people who work in it deliver an outstanding service for the vast majority of people. That does not mean that where some people don't get what they should in terms of the service, that is acceptable. We continue to work to ensure that overall performance in the NHS improves. That's the duty of a First Minister, it's the duty of a government, and it's a duty to do that in challenging times, not just in good times.